All right, this is got to be one of my most asked for recipes. I would love it if Riley, my grandson, would call it family bread or Christmas bread or something like that. He calls it teacher bread because we used to take it to school to the teachers. So he's always like, are you going to make teacher bread? So this is how you make teacher bread. You start with a quart of water, warm water, but not too hot. Too hot will kill your yeast. And then you're going to put 3 packages of yeast in. This makes 5 loaves of bread. And I don't make fancy square shaped loaves of bread. I make round, easy loaves of bread that don't have to be rolled out. So you just put that in there, and then you're just going to put a little bit of sugar for now in there, maybe a couple teaspoons. And then you're going to stir it and let it dissolve. And then you want to start seeing some activity in your yeast. You want to see some bubbles coming up around the sides of it. So you have to let that sit for a few. The other ingredients that you have in this are 4 teaspoons of salt, 3 eggs, and a half a cup of butter, which makes it an enriched dough, which makes it tastier, less healthy, but always enjoyable. So usually what I do is I start with this, and you can see now that there's bubbles coming up on it. So it's ready to start adding to it. And I usually start with a little bit of flour first. So, and I think the original recipe called for, 8 cups of flour. But what I do is I add flour until the dough feels right. And I know that's not very specific, but it's how I roll. So I add just a little bit of this so it's easier to mix in the eggs and whatnot. The other thing is you don't want to add your salt with your yeast right away because salt will kill yeast also. So you kind of put it in a little bit towards the end after your yeast has already started working. Then I just kind of like throw my eggs in there and throw my butter in there. It's a half a cup of butter, 3 eggs. And the butter is a little bit harder to work in. I almost need it. Dorothy, would you get me a real wooden spoon instead of this, I think. And I'm going to go ahead and throw my sugar in and let it dissolve in there. And I just put all these fancy little bowls out here so I would remember everything that needs to go in it, because I got a little chemo brain going on, and sometimes things don't always work the way they should. And I got to say, things don't always turn out as well as they used to either sometimes. So, got to go with that too. But I'm sure yours will turn out perfect. Dorothy, will give me another sifter of flour. I had about 3 cups in that last one. Dorothy's my lovely assistant today. And my cameraman and my director.
Here you go.
Thank you, ma'am. And in future episodes, we're going to make some of Aunt Irene's caramel corn, and Audrey wants to be my special guest. So that's going to be something to look forward to. I have incorporated about 8 cups of flour into this, and it's ready to start kneading now. And I got probably a good 1.5 cups on there for that process. Clean my bowl out a little bit here. flour will always take the dough off of surfaces, including your hands. So if your hands get extra gooey, you can use the flour to take that off. And if anybody was wondering about my fancy flour canister over there, my mother always kept flour in a 5-gallon lard can. So I've downsized from that, but I still keep my flour in a tin like that in my pantry. So then the next step is just to knead your dough until everything feels right. And I don't know how to exactly explain that, but this, you're going to knead, you're going to pull it in and then pull it away from you, and pull it in and pull it away from you. And you want to do that until you have a nice soft dough. And you may not use all of this flour in your kneading process. You just want enough to keep your dough from sticking to you too much. Okay, with a little help from Dorothy, the kneading has been done, and it's a heavier dough just because it's an enriched dough. It's got the butter and the eggs and stuff in it, so it's a little bit heavier to feel, but it feels good. We put it in an oil bowl. We're going to put a towel over it, and it's going to sit until it's doubled. And doubled would be, about the top of this bowl here. And then after it's doubled, we'll roll it into the 5 balls, let it double again, and then bake it. So that is all for this stage of it. All right, our bread has risen. So we're going to divide it into 5 rough loaves. Rough being whatever I decide to make them into, depending on pan size. So, and then when I make a loaf, I don't do all that rolling out business and making it into I just oil a pan and put it in there, just like so. These are a little bit smaller. Fun fact, these are my original shower presents that I got back in 1981. And they were a gift from my sister-in-law, Jerry Cameron. And I have used them to death. There's a third one, but it's a little rough looking nowadays, so it had to stay in the cabinet. Dorothy cut me off for a little bit, but it was a present from Jerry. And I've used it to death, and I have one more. And when I make German chocolate cake, which isn't often, I pull out the 3 pans, put some parchment paper in it, and it's the perfect size. And so then this is what my bread looks like whenever I get done. And like this one is a little bit big for this pan, so we're going to throw it in this pan because I think that'll work out better. And then this is the last one. And then we let them rise again and then bake them at about 375 until they're brown. They don't really do that tap test that you do with bread sometimes because it's an enriched dough. So you just kind of have to, till they're nice and brown and they look right. And then they're done. Temperature? Temperature? Oh, there is one for bread. I think it's 205. But I will look that up, and whenever we get them ready to pull them out of the oven, I'll tell you what the temperature is for that if you're going to temp your bread. Have a lovely day. The bread's done. It's been buttered. I always butter the tops of it so it's soft. I just like it that way. And then I always serve it with honey butter. And there is no trick to honey butter. It is just simply that. It's butter, but I will tell you, never use margarine because it turns into a sloppy mess. And you just squish some honey over the top of it, and then you stir it together. And that's the whole secret to honey butter. And then you serve it with some warm bread, and it is a lovely treat. And some of this is going to some of Dorothy's friends that have had twins and are having a rough time of it right now. So hopefully they'll enjoy the bread and the honey butter and the lasagna later. So I think that's it for bread making. And if you have any questions, just holler. But it is not rocket science, obviously. I can do it, so. And the honey butter is just, this one looks like it needs a little bit more honey in it, but you just add it until you think it looks right, tastes right. And have a fabulous day.